You okay? Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bodhang Bhagavatam Abhivademi Sawakkhata Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Saupatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami นมัสการพระอาจารย์สวัสดียามเช้าลูกพระ Today we are going to read the Buddha's way. Many days ago, from your ordination, I emphasize or focus on study the Buddha's Dhamma or the Buddha's teaching. You did study the Buddha's teaching in various dimensions. As we have known, we study about life, body, mind, mindfulness. For foundation of mindfulness, establishment of mindfulness in the body, feeling, thinking, and on phenomena. We study about the Dhamma and society. We study about karma and rebirth. We emphasize on how to apply Buddhism in daily life. I choose the Thich Nhat Hanh work that he has been well known around the world about how to apply Buddhism in daily life in every step. I try to collect the book deal with how to apply Buddhism in daily life in order to understand and realize that Buddhism is not spiritual food in the refrigerator, in the frozen, but is it alive. It can be used in every walks of life, eating, walking, driving, working, breathing in and breathing out. We are with Dhamma. So now I think 24 days you understand about the Dhamma, and then the last week I think it important to come to study the Buddha's life, and I evaluate you. You have a wise man. You are very wonderful man who can understand Dhamma very well. And then I think it's a time to study life of the Buddha. When we talk about books about life of the Buddha, many hundred writers that write the Buddha's life in the writing or in the way of poem. And then this copy I bring from the book in Thai, my book Putthavithi. When I was here 2002, that time then nobody come to me. I was alone here and work everything around in garden and cooking and manage about building. And when I have free time, I read Buddhist scripture, and in the solitary place or atmosphere or surrounding, I feel appreciate the Buddha's life, the Buddha work, the Buddha teaching too much. And then I think I would like to express, appreciate and gratitude to the Buddha in this book. And then after breakfast, I start to try to read Buddhist scripture and simplify Buddhist scripture from Bali and Thai to be the simple word that ordinary people can read. And then it public about 3,000 copies distributed in the libraries in Thailand. Then 2 years ago, when I know David, he want to read, and he used the translation program Thai to English. Through him translate on of it, and we hope one day we would publish in English, and then now just we can collect it, and if we read and we find what's it the appropriate word to use or grammar or something you think it need to review, you can have some marks on that, or next time we will have one pencil for you. If you think it should be reviewed, okay, I will take this word to review again. So from now, I would like you to start a reading, and after reading, we would make it at YouTube, because this is the first time. You can read slowly. That many level of people can understand. Okay, start now.
Buddha's Way, Chapter 1, The Homeland. In the 6th century, before the Christian era, at the foothills of the Himalayas in present-day Nepal, near the northern border of India, there was a small town called Kapilavatthu. It was governed by the system of communal harmony, in which kings would take turns ruling and jointly undertake duties of state according to the consensus of a council of kings who would willingly assign responsibilities. This communal form of government bore similarities to the republican systems in some countries today, where citizens elect leaders to rule in accordance with terms typically established by each nation's constitution. However, the communal harmony governance of
Kapilavatthu is the city where the Buddha was born. The city Kapilavatthu, or we talk in Thai Kapilaphat. If we call in Thai Krung Kapilaphat, and in English we call Kapilavatthu. Okay.
However, the communal harmony governance of Kapilavatthu differed in a crucial way. The administration of state affairs was strictly confined within the royal family. Ordinary people had no part in leadership or decision-making regarding the governance of their own land. This form of government could be called a monarchical republic, because the king held the power to oversee and administer the kingdom, interpreted literally as the king holds sovereignty, much like how democracy means the people hold sovereignty. At that time, the ruler of Kapilavatthu was King Suddhiyano.
Suddhiyano. This is the Siddhartha's father. the king of Kapilavatthu.
And his queen was named Queen Siramahaya.
Siri Maha Maya.
Siri Mahai.
Maya.
Siri Maya Haya.
Siri Maha Maya.
Okay. Siri Maha
Maya. Okay.
Who was originally from the city of
Tewataha.
Tewataha.
Okay, now we have two cities. First is Kapilavatthu, the city of the Buddha's father, and Tewataha, the cities of the mums, city of the mum. Two cities, okay.
The two cities were connected by the
Rohini River,
which marked the boundary between them.
Okay, we have one river called Rohini. Rohini. Like in Thai, Chao Phraya River. In India, Ganges River. And here, Los Angeles River, right? Episode, the dry river. Okay. Let's go.
Surrounding the city of Kapilavatthu were great forests, abundant with many species of trees, especially teak, a wood vital to the livelihood of the people of Kapilavatthu. So essential was this tree that the reigning monarch of Kapilavatthu named his lineage Sakaya,
Yes, Sakaya, okay.
meaning the clan that settled amidst the teak forest. When the founders of the Sakaya clan first began establishing the city, they encountered a hermit named Kapila who was practicing asceticism in the teak forest near the proposed site of the city. They thus named the capital Kapilavatthu, taking the hermit's name as an auspicious title for the capital of the Sakayan realm. Most of the city's inhabitants live by growing rice and other agricultural pursuits, primarily producing food for their own consumption. Forests and rivers were critical factors in these occupations. The forests were the essential source from which rivers and streams were born. The water was the lifeblood of agriculture and every aspect of sustenance in this region. Even though the Sakaya royal house of Kapilavatthu and the Koliya royal house of Tewataha had long maintained a close relationship through intermarriage between princes and princes of the two cities, there were frequent disputes over water resources, especially during times of drought affecting agriculture.
I'm sorry, and then it a new word, Koliya. Koliya, that means the clan name. Koliya, the clan name. And in the Kapilavatthu, it's Sakaya. And Koliya is the clan name of the mother of the Buddha. This is the new word. Koliya was in the Tewataha. It lies in Kalama Kesaputta. In the city of Kesaputta, the clan Kalama. This in Tewataha, there was a clan Koliya. Okay.
As such conflicts intensified, the two sides would often raise armies against one another. Each battle caused harm and suffering to both, as casualties and losses were comparable on both sides. The Buddha once warned both families to recognize that life is more precious than water. Both sides understood this truth, yet when disputes arose, they resorted to violence, harming and destroying each other. Thus, the legend of the relationship between Tewataha and Kapilavatthu became a tale of both love and war. Whenever selfishness, pride in caste and lineage, or the pursuit of national interest dominated, war was quick to follow. But whenever such feelings subsided, love and harmonious relations would arise once more.
Okay. It's a very conclusion that the pride in the caste. The caste is different from class. Caste cannot be changed. According to the tradition, they have 4 castes. First Kshatriya, that means kingly caste, and the Brahmin, and Vaisya commerciant, and Sudra the low labor worker. If you are born in any caste, you can't change, but the class can be changed by mobilized to be the high class. So this is the restraint of the caste, and then each caste had the pride, especially superior class like a Brahmin and Kshatriya, and the pride make them have more selfishness. And then after that, when the conflict about interest, like here, water, is very important to use in agriculture profession or worker. So they fight again and again, again and again. Even the Buddha came and tried to ask them, give simile that, give comparison that blood is better than water, and then they can stop temporarily, and when the Buddha leave the temple, they start fighting again, because they have the pride that I am superior over you, I can win over you. Okay, first of all, we get to know about the background of the Buddha's claim and the continuation of the affair, like agriculture, fighting for the water and peace, and on and on. Come to chapter 2.
Social and political conditions. In the Indian subcontinent during the time of the Buddha, which includes present-day Nepal and India, there were many small and large city-states. Each city had its own system of governance based on local customs or what was deemed appropriate to the environmental conditions of each area. Although the governing structures of these states differed in detail, the predominant form was monarchy, in which a single king ruled, or, in some cases, multiple kings governed cooperatively by dividing responsibilities based on mutual agreement, a system called rule by communal harmony. The people living in these city-states were divided into groups based on perceptions of advancement or primitiveness. Those considered advanced were called Ariya or Ariyaka, while those who deemed primitive were called Milaka.
Okay, Ariyaka, light chanting noble, noble. Ariyaka translate in noble. Yeah. Okay, the division.
This division likely stemmed from differences in military capabilities or weapon making. The Milaka were regarded as primitive because they were indigenous people of the land, whereas the Ariyaka had migrated from elsewhere. Upon arriving, they invaded and successfully conquered the Milaka. Thus, those with military power and skill were considered more advanced because they had developed superior techniques in weapons production, soldier training, and the art of warfare. The outcome of battle reinforced this view. Victors were seen as superior to the defeated. Apart from this power-based division, there was separation by skin color. Ariyaka were light-skinned, while the Milaka were dark-skinned. It was concluded that the light-skinned people, being attractive in appearance, were more advanced than dark-skinned people. This kind of discriminatory classification appeared to be deeply ingrained in human consciousness. Even after thousands of years, and despite advances in knowledge, science, and technology, such attitudes persist sometimes openly, sometimes covertly, depending on the circumstances that allow them to be revealed or concealed. Beyond the social division on these grounds, the Vedas, sacred texts that govern nearly every stage of human life, also divided people into groups based on inherited bloodlines. According to this view, individuals of different professions or clans could not marry or live together under any circumstances. Anyone who defied this rule and married across groups would bear children who were socially labeled Chantala, regardless of gender.
Yes, Chantala, okay. And now we are going on to read the Buddha's way.
The lineage-based classification of professions is called the Varna system.
Varana, or
Varna.
it translated to caste. If in Pali it is Vanna, and Varana is the Sanskrit. Yeah.
Anyone born into a Varna was bound to that Varna for life, with no possibilities of change, as it was seen as divinely ordained in the Vedas. The four Varnas were Brahmins, responsible for the studying the Vedas and performing rituals associated with the various stages of life, as specified in detail. The Brahmins considered themselves the highest class because they believed they were born from the mouth of Brahma. In truth, this may have referred to their role in reciting and teaching the knowledge of the Vedas.
Kshatriya.
Kshatriya.
This is Sanskrit, and if it is Pali, Khattiya.
Kshatriya.
Yes.
Their duty was to govern and to fight. Rulers surrounded by threats had to have skilled warriors capable of protecting their people from invaders and preventing bloodshed or forced relocation. Great kings in history were often remembered primarily for their prowess in battle. Rarely were great kings celebrated for compassion, peace, and prosperity among their citizens. The Kshatriya.
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 Okay.
Were ranked just below the Brahmins, believed to have been born from the Brahma's arms, symbolizing their role in fighting and training, using both arms in battle. From the standpoint of real power,
Kshatriya. Yes.
Kshatriya likely held more actual authority than the Brahmins, who relied on scriptural and ceremonial influence. This is similar to how political leaders today may respectfully perform religious rituals but are not subject to religious authority. Vaishya, tasked with trade, commerce, and
Vaisya.
Vaisya.
Yes, Vaisya. That means merchant. Okay. We have detail.
Vaisya, tasked with trade, commerce, and managing economic needs and livelihoods of people. This Varna was ranked third, said to have originated from Brahma's belly, implying their role in providing nourishment for society. From an economic perspective, however, they might have been more powerful than others, as those who control the economy often hold more sway than scholars, clergy, or warriors. Sutras. Assigned to all forms of manual labor, they were ranked lowest and believed to originate from the Brahma's foot. Professionally, they did the heavy, laborious work, enduring hardships through physical effort and persistence. Despite having been assigned to the lowest position, their contributions were essential. They were the true and direct creators of much in the world, using their hands and feet to build and to sustain. People within each of the four Varnas could marry within their own Varna to preserve the purity of their lineage. If absolutely necessary, and no suitable spouse from another family within the same Varna could be found, they could marry within their own family, even siblings. Anyone who married outside their Varna would have children who could not be considered part of their parents' either parent's Varna. Instead, they would be assigned to the Chantala class, widely regarded with contempt
As a
lower caste. Though they were already burdened with labor, Chantalas were given even more degrading tasks, such as carrying corpses or handling filthy, foul-smelling material. They are sometimes referred to as outcasts, a label that caused deep pain as society insisted that every person must belong to one of the four Varnas, each said to have originated from different part of Brahma's body. Since Chantalas were not included in this fourfold scheme, they were labeled outcasts. Anyone born into a Varna was bound to it for life, with no opportunity to move to another. It was believed that every person was preordained by Brahma. Whoever was born into a role had to accept this system, had to accept it for life without question. This system of Varna became a deep and lasting fracture in the social structure of the Indian subcontinent. No matter what methods, social, religious, cultural, or ideological, were used, this rift provided nearly impossible to hear. Over time, instead of reducing the divide, Social change only seemed to further fragment society. Each of the 4 varnas split into countless subcastes called Anuvarna, which continued to proliferate. Today, modern India has hundreds of subcastes beyond the original 4 major varnas.
Yes, we have detail. Okay. Chapter 3.
The birth of Prince Siddhartha. After King Suddhiyano of Kapilawattu
Yes.
and Queen Siri Mahamaya of Tewataha were formerly married. They ruled the kingdom together and governed their people in peace and happiness, according with the ancient royal customs passed down from generation to generation. One night, Queen Siri Mahamaya had a dream. A beautiful white elephant holding a pure white lotus flower with its trunk entered her bedchamber. It circled her royal bed 3 times, then gently placed the lotus flower on her chest and departed. A Brahmin skilled in dream interpretation explained that the one who had entered Queen Siri Mahamaya's womb was a being of purity, endowed with immense and boundless power, who would have far-reaching influence in the future. When the queen learned she had a child, King Suddhiyano and the entire royal family were filled with immense joy and delight. They lovingly and attentively cared for the queen's health to ensure the well-being of the child in her womb. As the time of delivery drew near, Queen Siri Mahamaya traveled back to the city of Tewataha, her native home, in preparation for giving birth in accordance with the long-standing custom. This tradition was likely meant to encourage and strengthen women giving birth, as childbirth in ancient times carried a high risk of death for mothers. Being able to face such a challenging task surrounded by care and affection of her parents and close relatives will offer emotional support, warmth, and a sense of safety. This custom embodied the deepest meanings of humanity and community. As the royal procession approached the city of Tewataha, they arrived at the Lumpini Garden.
Yes.
It was a lush and tranquil grove, filled with towering and layered trees and flowers of countless varieties blooming in vibrant array. Bees, bumblebees, dragonflies, butterflies of many color, and an endless number of insects were all drawn to the garden's fragrance, color, and sweet nectar. Some flew about admiring the beauty, some sniffed the blooms, while others perched joyfully and drank the nectar. Birds of various kinds and colors came seeking their favorite foods. Some drank flower nectar, while others pecked at fruit ripe and unripe that was continually provided by nature. Available to choose as they pleased, insect-eating birds took advantage of the many insects gathering around the flowers, preying upon them as they fed. Unaware of the lurking danger, the insects enjoyed the beauty and sweetness of the flowers, not realizing that amidst such a serene and lovely scene, the scent of death and predation quietly lingered. By late morning nearing midday, the royal procession paused for rest in the peaceful and refreshing Lumpini Garden to rejuvenate before continuing the journey. While everyone was enjoying their rest, Queen Siri Mahamaya suddenly experienced labor pains. The royal attendants, upon realizing her condition, quickly prepared a makeshift birthing area beneath a sal tree. The birth proceeded. Salak tree.
Yes.
The birth proceeded smoothly. Both the mother and the newborn son were safe and healthy, under the attentive care of the royal attendants who accompanied her. Queen Siri Mahamaya had returned to her native city of Tewataha with the intention of giving birth to her royal child. Now that her purpose had been successfully fulfilled, she returned to the city of Kapilawattu, to bringing the royal child with her. The monumental event brought immense joy and jubilation to King Suddhiyano and all the citizens who had eagerly awaited their return.
Okay. Chapter 4, Naming the Prince.
5 days after the birth of the royal son, Queen Siri Mahamaya and King Suttotana, together with the royal relatives, organized the naming ceremony. They invited 108 Brahmins, highly skilled in Vedic knowledge, to receive offerings and conduct the naming ritual. Siddhartha, meaning
Siddhartha.
Siddhartha,
Yes.
meaning one who has fulfilled his benefit or realized his purpose, was the name unanimously agreed upon by father, mother, royal relatives, and the assembled Brahmin scholars. All regarded it as a highly auspicious name for the newborn prince. Once the Brahmins completed the naming ceremony, they calculated the date, month, and year of the prince's birth using various methods in accordance with the Brahmanical beliefs handed down through generations. The purpose was to predict whether the prince's life would be prosperous or diminished. Though different astrological schools employ different methods, the results of their calculations and predictions derived from them all pointed in the same direction. If the prince remained in the household life, he would become a great universal monarch, ruling over a vast territory extending to all 4 oceans. However, if he renounced the world and became a monastic, he would become a supreme teacher of the world. Among the 108 Brahmins was a young Brahmin named Khongchinda,
Khongchinda.
Khongchinda,
Okay.
who confidently declared a prediction in line with the others, that the prince would certainly renounce the world, live a celibate life, and become a supreme teacher of the world. The naming ceremony and the astrological predictions for the young prince were carried out in full accordance with custom and tradition. The event concluded with a prophecy that filled the king, queen, and royal family with joy and delight. King Suttotana, however, deeply wished for the prince to become a great universal monarch rather than renounce the throne to become a religious teacher. The joy and festivity that had prevailed in Kapilavatthu since the birth of Prince Siddhartha
Yes.
abruptly came to a halt and turned to grief and sorrow when Queen Siri Mahamaya passed away just 7 days after the prince's birth. King Suttotana was overwhelmed by sorrow at this unexpected event. He had longed to grow old alongside the queen, sharing the joy of watching their beloved son flourish at every step. But now she has gone, never to return. At that moment, no sorrow can match the king's suffering. The royal cremation ceremony for the queen was conducted with full honors, amid the mourning of the royal family and citizens of Kapilavatthu, all of whom deeply loved and revered her as the queen of their city. With the prince's mother having passed away so suddenly and unexpectedly, Prince Siddhartha became motherless at just 7 days old. King Suttotana therefore sought a royal nurse who was both kind and experienced in caring for infants to ensure their child's health in every respect. He entrusted this responsibility to Mahapajapati Khotami, who was the prince's maternal aunt. She cared for Prince Siddhartha with maternal affection as if he were her own son. Even later, when she married King Suttotana and bore him a son named Nanta and a daughter named Rupa Nanta, her love and tender care for Prince Siddhartha never diminished in the slightest.
Okay, in brief, after Siri Mahamaya Queen gave the birth for 7 days, she passed away, and we call foster mother, right? Mahapajapati Khotami. She was Siri Mahamaya's sister, younger sister, and then she came to be the second wife of Suttotana, and she gave birth of Prince Nanda and Princess Rupananda. So, if we ask, did Siddhartha have sister and brother, we can say yes, but they have same, they are the common father and separated mother. And Siddhartha was born from Sri Mahamaya. Nanta and Arupananta, one brother and one sister, were born from Mahapachapadi Kotami. We call it aunt, right? Sister of mom is called aunt
Yeah.
or auntie.
Aunt, both could I, but aunt is more formal.
Okay.
Auntie is informal.
Chapter 5, Childhood.
As Prince Siddhartha grew older, his conduct and demeanor revealed to his father and relatives signs that pointed towards more towards sainthood than imperial conquest, as foretold on the day of his naming. He preferred solitude and quiet places over noisy, playful gatherings with his peers, behavior very uncommon for a child of his age. One significant incident occurred during the royal plowing ceremony, an ancient tradition with which King Suddhiyano held in high regard. The ceremony was conducted annually to encourage the people of Kapilavatthu to recognize farming, especially rice cultivation, as a vital occupation for sustaining life and distributing food to eliminate hunger. King Suddhiyano personally presided over the ceremony each year. On this occasion, he arrived with members of the royal family to perform the plowing himself, a declaration that the season of cultivation had officially begun. The ceremony typically took place in early May, marking the start of a rainy season. Young princes and princesses of the Sakaya lineage, including Prince Siddhartha, accompanied King Suddhiyano. The king had assigned royal attendants to carefully look after the children, both to educate them about the noble value of farming and to allow them to play together, deepening bonds among royal relatives. Prince Siddhartha played with his companions for a short while, but then noticed a large jujube tree nearby, its thick foliage providing cool shade and solitude. He walked over and sat beneath it with joy, enjoying the fresh air of the open field around him. In early May, the first rains of the season began to scatter across fields, forests, and hills. Trees and grasses that had withered in April's scorching heat, some which had shed their leaves to protect their trunks, began to revive with moisture, turning green in unison as though welcoming a visitor who brought life. Trees that had lost all their leaves, once unsure about the consistency of rainfall needed to sustain life, began to bud and sprout new leaves across branches and trunks. Trees that had sprouted earlier now bore full, lush foliage. Some plants, needing only a small amount of rain, bloomed profusely their flowers, unfolding in waves of white, red, yellow, pink, purple, and every natural color, creating a breathtaking display. The artistry of the nature's design was pure, beautiful, and harmoniously balanced. The earth, parched for months, now became moist. Brown, lifeless grass began to shoot new sprouts. Seeds carried by water or wind began to germinate once they received good air, water, fertilizer, and soil. Soon, fields that had looked scorched and lifeless turned bright green again, filled with new grass nourished by rain. Insects and reptiles that had hidden from the heat emerged from the cracks in the earth to enjoy the coolness. Winged insects flew about joyfully, while wingless ones crawled along the ground, searching for food. This season seemed like a grand festival, where every creature could choose from a banquet of nourishment spread across the fields, forests, and mountains. Birds and insects that loved nectar flew to freshly blooming flowers across the land. It was a delightful time as they flew from blossom to blossom, sipping nectar without end. Birds, insects, and reptiles that favored young grass or leaves, whether tender or mature, in meadows or forests, could feast as they pleased. Amid this perfectly arranged beauty of nature, hidden acts of predation and violence were ever present. When a nectar-loving insect landed on a flower to feed, a bird that fed on insects lay in wait nearby ready to pounce. For the bird too, this was a season of abundance. Likewise on the ground, even though the insects enjoyed grass, leaves, and seeds, They were hunted by a variety of reptiles, frogs, toads, and lizards, all of whom fed on insects. Snakes, in turn, preyed on frogs, toads, and lizards. Hawks preferred snakes, and eventually humans would hunt hawks as food as well. It is said that as Prince Siddhartha was sitting beneath a tree, peacefully appreciating the beauty of nature, a small insect flew past his face. He watched it with gentle interest. The insect soon landed on a twig near where he sat. Suddenly, a lizard rushed out and swallowed the insect whole, disappearing it into its mouth and throat. The lizard then slowly walked away like a victor. While the prince was still stunned by the insect's end, a snake emerged from the hole nearby and slithered towards the lizard. The lizard tried to flee, but the snake was faster. It caught the lizard, bit it, and slowly swallowed it whole, just as the lizard had done to the insect. Then, as the snake crawled away, a hawk swooped down from the sky and snatched it up with its talons. No matter how the snake struggled, it could not escape the hawk's powerful grip. The hawk carried off its prize catch into the forest, likely to find a branch to devour it in peace, or perhaps to bring it back to feed its hungry young waiting in a nearby nest. Though still very young, Prince Siddhartha realized the truth in that moment. Amidst the natural beauty and mutual interdependence of plants, food, trees, and creatures, there was also hidden terrifying violence and relentless struggle. He had directly witnessed both harmony and brutality of life and nature. From that point on, he began contemplating his own life, using his breath, which has sustained his existence, as a tool for looking into life from various angles. Though the world always presented both beauty and suffering, the prince sought a third perspective, one that transcended both the lovely and the ugly. He anchored his awareness to his breath in the present moment, not allowing his attention to drift elsewhere. Before long, he observed that his breathing became more refined and subtle. A light, pleasant sensation arose in both body and mind. A peaceful stillness gradually unfolded in accordance with the meditative development he had instinctively followed. He remained absorbed in this blissful mental state for a long time. Eventually, King Suddhiyano and his attendants found him. They were astonished to see the young child could sit in deep, unwavering meditation, indistinguishable from an experienced monk well-versed in the jhana. Prince Siddhartha emerged from meditation and returned with his father to the royal palace. Rather than being filled with pride, King Suddhiyano felt a troubling certainty arise with him, a sign that his son would surely renounce the world. From that day forward, the king tried his utmost to surround the prince with comfort and pleasure, ensuring that nothing was lacking, in hopes that the boy was so captivated by worldly joy that he would forget all thoughts of renunciation. But the seed of enlightenment was planted in King Siddhartha's heart, had already begun to take root and sprout. It was now preparing to grow unstoppably towards the final stage, complete and perfect purity, a state no one could prevent or resist. All that remained was time and right supporting conditions. Then this tree of awakening would grow tall, full of leaves and branches, spreading wide in all directions, immeasurably casting shade to cool the world without discrimination.
Very nice. Okay. Are you tired? You can read continuously.
No.
You are still strong? Okay, go to chapter 6.
Adolescence and education. As Prince Siddhartha came of age, it was time for him to begin formal studies. His father, King Suddhiyano, arranged for him to study under the teacher Vishwamitra.
Vishwamitra is the name of professor or the scholar at that time. And everybody who come to be appointed or promoted as the teacher of the prince. Is it called Vishwamitra? Okay.
The early subjects included writing, reading, and basic arithmetic. When his naturally calm disposition, the prince grasped lessons quickly and remembered them with ease, which delighted his teachers. Once he had mastered the basics, he moved on to advanced studies in preparation to become a future ruler. These higher disciplines include comprehensive knowledge in every field, beginning with the Vedas, which encompass literature, history, sociology, humanities, religion, and philosophy. He also studied the full array of governance, including political science, economics, law, and all other subjects essential to a happy and peaceful society. The art of warfare was also a major component, covering the use of chariots, horseback riding, elephant combat, infantry, and various weapons both short and long, such as spears, swords, and archery. He trained in military leadership, troop management, and conditioning of elephants and horses to ensure combat readiness. Additionally, he learned diplomacy and how to foster peaceful international relations. The best national defense that was taught was one that avoided warfare entirely. Peace through friendship was considered the path to lasting peace. In a society governed by communal harmony, a ruler needed to gather collective wisdom through a parliamentary system. By integrating diverse ideas into policy, the ruler could bring boundless happiness to people. At the age of 16, Prince Siddhartha participated in martial examinations before dignitaries and relatives. One key test involved archery using a heavy bow that was difficult to lift, string, and draw. Despite the difficulty, the prince, who had trained diligently and consistently, completed every task with precision. His accuracy impressed all who witnessed it. Another test involved the horse race. A horse chosen for him was notoriously fierce and unruly, known to have injured even expert riders. Yet the prince approached the horse gently, offering it with tender grass and stroking its head and neck. This calmed the animal. He mounted and rode it without use of whip or force. The audience applauded his mastery and his ability to tame a wild horse with kindness. Prince Siddhartha was thoroughly trained intellectually, physically, and in manners to benefit both him and society. His demeanor was gentle and trustworthy, leaving strong impressions on all who met or worked with him. In addition to his reputation and for humility and grace, his compassion for both people and animals were widely praised. One story tells a day when Prince Siddhartha and Prince Tewatatta,
they're like an enemy who try to harm Siddhartha, like an enemy, or what we can. So they try to harm, always to harm. Yeah, okay. Tewatatta.
One story tells a day when Prince Siddhartha and Prince Tewatatta visited a park. Tewatatta, carrying a bow and arrows, hoped to test his marksmanship on any suitable target he might find. Siddhartha, meanwhile, wandered peacefully, admiring the natural beauty of the trees and wildlife.
I can hostility, yeah. Like a Tewatatta always has hostility to Siddhartha.
A flock of swans passed overhead, flying gracefully in formation. Tewatatta saw this as a perfect chance to test his skills and shot an arrow, striking one swan. The injured bird tumbled down and landed near Siddhartha. Moved by compassion, Siddhartha climbed the tree where the swan lay, removed the arrow swiftly to minimize pain, and applied medicinal herbs to stop the bleeding. The swan remained calm, as if understanding the prince's kindness. Tewatatta soon arrived and demanded the swan, claiming ownership because he had shot it. Siddhartha refused, stating that the swan deserved care and safety. Once it healed, he would release it to return to its flock, where family and companions might be waiting. The matter escalated, and both princes agreed to settle it in court. The judge listened to both sides. Tewatatta claimed that the swan was his because he shot it. Siddhartha argued that life is precious and that he had saved the bird, which had the right to live freely and happily. After careful deliberation, the chief judge delivered the verdict. One who seeks to destroy life has no claim. One who saves life has the rightful claim. The swan shall remain under Prince Siddhartha's care. Prince Siddhartha tended to the swan until it fully recovered, then released it to rejoin its flock. In this way, Prince Siddhartha demonstrated courageous compassion, choosing peaceful legal resolution over violence and upholding the sanctity of life.
Okay, we have proposed to finish chapter 10.
Okay.
Okay, try. Everything possible by Phraengtham. Okay.
Chapter 7, Married Life. At the age of 16, after completing his education and successfully demonstrating his knowledge and skill before scholars, experts, and royal relatives, King Siddhartha entered into marriage with Prince Yasodhara, known as Phraengtham.
Pimpa. That's it. The Prince Siddhartha lady. Prince Siddhartha lady. Yes. Pimpa. The new name. She came from Tewata city. She the relatives in the mom side. Okay.
A beautiful princess from Tewataha and a maternal relative. He began his young adult life as crown prince of Kapilavatthu, enjoying a blissful married life amidst every luxury King Suddhiyano could provide. The king's intention was to keep the prince delighted by worldly pleasure, leaving no time or desire to consider renunciation. The prince dined on exquisite meals prepared from the finest rice, wheat, meats, vegetables, and fruits, carefully selected for their superior quality. During meals, he was attended by well-trained servants of refined demeanor who ensured that everything was perfect. If he wished for music, expert musicians performed to enhance the dining atmosphere. Meals were unrestricted. He could eat as long as he liked. These delicacies were not reserved for him alone. The workers and servants in the royal palace also shared in the fine cuisine. His clothing and textiles came from Kasi, renowned across the Indian subcontinent for producing the highest quality fabrics. The finest tailors were commissioned, regardless of cost, to produce garments worthy of royal use. The three palaces where he resided, one for each season, were beautifully designed, constructed with durable materials, optimized for comfort in every climate. The surrounding landscapes were planned with harmony,
flowering.
And planned with flowering trees and ornamental plants were artfully arranged. Each palace were encircled by lotus ponds filled with pink lotuses, white lotuses, and many species of aquatic blossoms, blooming year-round to please the eye and calm the mind. At night, gatherings and celebrations with relatives and friends were common. Whether large or small, these events featured ensembles of skilled musicians playing in perfect harmony, and dancers and singers, beautiful women trained in the arts, entertained with captivating songs and graceful movement. Though Prince Siddhartha had Prince Yasodhara as his principal consort, he also had access to other women for momentary pleasure, as was customary for great kings and nobles of the time. He fulfilled his duties as crown prince with diligence and
Perseverance.
Yeah, perseverance, yep. His noble bearing left a strong impression on all who saw him. He was well liked by palace staff and citizens alike. Once a noble woman named Kisa Gotami saw the prince returning from royal duties and knelt before him, offering a blessing. "Oh, how wonderful is this prince! To be his wife, brings peace. To have him as a son is pure joy. To be his parent is to feel the heart soothed." Upon hearing this, Prince Siddhartha's heart was struck by the word Niputa, meaning
Niputa, yes.
one whose defilements have been extinguished. He was deeply moved by his term. In gratitude, he removed the pearl necklace he was wearing and placed it around her neck as a reward for speaking the word Niputa, the word so beautiful and meaningful that it stirred his soul and awakened with him a yearning for that peaceful, cooling state of ultimate release, Nibbana without end.
It comes from, it same as the Nibbana, Niputa. I think it's very surprised when they came to America. You say, when you like something, you say cool, right? Some get cool. We have so many words in Wat Buddhapanya. You say cool, like that. Call it Nibbana or Niputa. That's cool. For example, when you are a parent watching, you are reading the Buddha's history, like they are cool. That's been Niputa, the meaning of Niputa. And when they welcome you home, and you get up at 5 o'clock, they feel cool. Chapter 8.
Prince Siddhartha and Princess Yasodhara lived together in comfort for about 13 years. One day, the prince traveled to the pleasure garden outside the city. The road passed through markets and populated areas. Before each journey, the palace ordered the streets decorated beautifully. Citizens lining the road were to dress finely so that the entire road would appear in harmony with the prince's majesty. As the procession moved past crowds standing respectfully, near the city gate, Prince Siddhartha noticed an elderly man walking slowly and feebly, appearing utterly worn. He asked his character, Chana, why does this man look so different from everyone else I've seen? Chana replied, he is called an old man. As people age, their energy fades. Rising, walking, every action becomes difficult.
This is another one, Channa Chariotia, right? Yeah, it's a pronounced in Channa. Yeah. His friend, when he renounced the world, Channa follow him and bring on ornament back Kapilavatthu. Okay, this is his name, Channa.
The prince asked, will I and Princess Bimpa become like this? Chana answered, everyone grows old, the body breaks down, no one escapes it. As the carriage continued, the prince saw another man, emaciated, lying by the roadside, clearly suffering, but not dead. Emaciated is like they're starving. He asked Chana, why is that man there in such pain? Chana answered, he is sick. Illness drains strength, making eating impossible. Eventually, even moving becomes too hard. The prince asked, could I, Impa, and our relatives also fall ill like this? Chana replied, anyone can become sick, no one is exempt. Farther along, they encountered people carrying a corpse on a bamboo bier. The dead man lay uncovered, motionless. Relatives walked behind, weeping and crying. The prince asked, why does the man not respond to the mourners? Chana replied, he is dead. The dead feel no pain, joy, or sorrow. The prince asked, where are they taking him? Chana answered, to the cremation ground. The prince asked again, will I, Pimpa, and our relatives end up like this? Chana replied, everyone dies. The only difference is how soon or how late. Through the procession continued towards the pleasure garden, Prince Siddhartha's mind was filled with the sights of old age, sickness, and death. He thought about his people suffering the same fate and realized he, too, would face it. The beauty of nature and human artifice no longer moved him. His heart asked, is there truly no escape from death? Just as darkness exists, so must light. If suffering exists, perhaps a path without suffering does too. He sought the way to overcome suffering caused by aging, sickness, and death, not just for himself, but for all people. Upon reaching the park, the prince withdrew into the forest. Soon he came to a large pond, its surface dotted with blooming lotus flowers. Under a tree shade he sat, but his mind could not enjoy the serene setting. Then he saw a wandering ascetic sitting calmly beneath the tree across the pond. Clothed simply, carrying only a small bowl and a gourd for water, the ascetic's face shone with peace. His eyes were clear, free from worry. He traveled unburdened, like wind across the sky. Though possessing nothing, he seemed to own everything, a quiet power that even kings could not match. This sight eased the prince's troubled thoughts. The heavy burden of earlier reflections lightened. Maybe this was a path worth exploring. He realized that being a prince, even a king, meant endless obligations. The more wealth and power one held, the farther one strayed from liberation. The ascetic life, by contrast, was light, peaceful, and free a life with time to seek truth and find calm. Just imagining it brought him relief. He uttered Satuko Papacha. Truly, ordination is good. Determined to speak with the ascetic, he looked back, but the man had vanished, like a breeze passing through the trees. Returning to his attendant's weapon and enjoying the games while awaiting him, Prince Siddhartha appeared quietly changed. Old thoughts of aging and death faded. A new dilemma had taken hold. Should he remain in the householder's life or renounce it? Though princely life offered splendor, it also came with fear, attachment, and constant anxiety. The more one had, the more one feared loss. He reflected on the ascetics possessing nothing, yet at peace, moving freely. That image stirred his resolve. Just as he entered the city gates, a royal courier arrived with news. Princess Dimpa had given birth to a healthy son. Both mother and child are well. The prince responded, Rahula Bandanan Chatang.
Chatang.
A bond has been born. He meant that with the birth of his son, a new tie of affection had formed another bond to hold him. The messenger, thinking that this was his child's name, rushed back to announce it. Thus the boy was named Rahula. Prince Siddhartha had only one child, Rahula, born 13 years after his marriage to Prince Dimpa.
Okay, chapter 9.
Prince Siddhartha returns to the palace at dark. After bathing and changing his garments, he prepared to dine on exquisite evening meal, as always meticulously prepared by the royal kitchen for his enjoyment. That night, just as countless others before, music and dance were provided as he ate. The performers, all beautiful, talented women, selected for their grace and skill, sang, played instruments, and danced with elegance and sensual allure, delighting and captivating the senses. Their art was so enchanting that it resembled a intoxicating drug, indispensable to happiness. Throughout his life, the prince had indulged in such pleasures without boredom. These entertainments had become a way of life. The palace supplied him with abundance. Whatever he wished for was immediately provided. The types of comfort and diversions were frequently refreshed and varied to avoid monotony. No matter how long the enjoyment continued, it never seemed tiresome or stale. But this night was different. Despite being physically weary from a day spent in the pleasure garden, the prince felt no hunger or thirst. The once beloved music and songs entered one ear and passed out the other, like meaningless wind. The dancer's refined, seductive performance no longer stirred his mind or desire. Instead, his thoughts turned again and again to the inevitability of aging, sickness, and death, not just for himself, but also for Princess Dimpa, and even for Prince Rahula, who had just been born. These entertainers, so lively now, would soon grow old, fall ill, and die. No one could escape it. He asked himself, shall I remain trapped in this mass of suffering with these people and all of humanity, waiting for aging, illness, and death, or should I seek a way out and return with a passive liberation for Dimpa, Rahula, my father, my kin, and all suffering beings? Remaining a righteous king, a loving husband, a devoted father might seem sufficient, but if aging, illness, and death still loom, that even a great king would be chief among prisoners, honored and powerful, yet still bound in the prison of suffering. But what if he could find a way out of this prison? If he could escape into true freedom, then return to help others too, that would benefit both him and others. But if he remained in pleasure, lost in indulgence, he would help neither. Unable to enjoy the pleasures before him, the prince rose and went to his private bedchambers. Even after lying down, he could not sleep. Meanwhile, the musicians continued performing, as was their duty until dawn. Hours passed. Eventually, thinking that the prince had fallen asleep, they stopped playing and themselves collapsed in exhaustion, unaware and unbothered by their appearance or posture. Late in the night, the prince remained deep in contemplation. The seed of awakening, long buried in his heart, now began to sprout. It would soon grow strong, spreading wide to shade all of humanity, unstoppable from this point forward. He left his bedchamber and walked to the music room nearby. The scene before him resembled a cemetery of the living. Once graceful performers now sprawled in disarray. Their elegant clothes disheveled, some snored loudly, others slept with open mouths and drool-stained garments, some entangled together, others muttering in sleep. They appeared no different from corpses strewn carelessly in a graveyard. The prince observed this with deep compassion and passed on to Prince Dimpa's chamber. He saw her sleeping peacefully, exhausted from the labor of childbirth. Her face radiated a quiet joy, as if smiling in contentment from becoming the mother of Prince Rahula, who lay sleeping in a nearby cradle. Looking at her, then to his newborn son, who had just glimpsed the world, the prince felt a wave of love and happiness. For a moment, it felt like the perfect family, father, mother, and child united and complete. Yet another part of his heart understood, no matter how perfect, aging, illness, and death would still come for them each. All would eventually suffer, no one would escape. Even in this fullness of worldly happiness, immense suffering waited ahead. He looked upon his wife and beloved son one last time. The great compassion within him is to seek truth and end suffering, for all now swelled with force. It gave him the strength to make a painful yet monumental decision. He silently left Dimpa's chambers, whispering a final farewell. Though I love you both deeply, the boundless suffering of all beings weigh heavier. If I can find the true path of freedom beyond aging, sickness, and death, I shall return and share it with you, and with all who suffer as we do. It was a farewell of profound sorrow, but also immeasurable greatness towards a true liberation from every chain that binds. Ordination.
Chapter 10.
Prince Siddhartha, dressed in the full regalia of the royal heir, and went to see Channa, his charioteer, at his quarters. He shared his wish to leave home and ordain as an ascetic, asking that no one witness his departure. Channa pleaded repeatedly for him to reconsider, reminding him of King Suddhiyano's aging condition. The king, growing weaker each day, hoped for support in royal duties from his son, who would soon be named successor to the throne of Kapilavastu. Princess Timpa, having just given birth, needed her husband's close support. Young Prince Rahula needed the warmth of a father, and Prince Siddhartha himself was unaccustomed to the harsh, austere life of an ascetic. Though resolute, the prince felt a surge of sorrow and longing as Channa spoke of his beloved family. It was as if the fetters he had broken free from tried to rebind him. But when he reflected at the root of the causes of suffering, aging, and illness, and death, his heart regained strength. He told Channa, delay no more, bring me
Kantaka, in name of horse that bring him for ordination.
Kantaka, the faithful steed. I must leave and be ordained tonight. Unable to dissuade him, Channa prepared the horse as requested. The prince mounted Kantaka and rode out the city gates. Before going beyond view, he paused and turned back to the city one final time, bidding silent farewell to the royal throne, to comfort and wealth. He had no idea when or whenever he would ever return. He hoped his loved ones would not suffer hardship in his absence. They would continue to live amid royal ease. Separation from loved ones is inevitable as long as beings are caught in the cycle of aging, illness, and death. But would that separation be one of confusion and fear, or one of calm and resolve? Though his heart struggled with attachment, Siddhartha turned away from his life of wealth and power. He faced a path of poverty and humility with the deep hope that his new life would lead to a true and lasting liberation. Resolute, he rode to Kantaka, tirelessly through the night. At dawn, with light breaking over the horizon, the prince arrived at Anoma River, crossing to the far side. The river was shallow in places, deep in others. With care and awareness, he crossed safely, symbolizing the journey across the river of samsara, from suffering to freedom. One misstep and one could have drowned in the whirlpool of suffering. After a short rest, the first rays of sunlight warmed the air. Everything felt fresh and unfamiliar, unlike the prince had experienced before. There, on the riverbank, Prince Siddhartha removed his finely crafted royal garments and all his jewelry and handed them to Channa. He cut off his hair with a sword and donned the robes dyed in plant extract, known as kasawa robes, one to wrap the lower body, one to cover the upper body, and one to hang across the shoulder. In cold weather, the third could be used for added warmth. It could serve as a pillow or bedding when needed. At age 29, Prince Siddhartha was ordained into the ascetic life on the bank of Anoma River. He formally renounced the throne, asking Channa to bring his royal garments and jewels to the king as his final farewell. Channa accepted with deep sorrow and pledged to carry out the prince's wishes. He bowed in farewell and led Kantaka back across the river. But as soon as they reached the other side, Kantaka collapsed and died. His role was complete. He had carried his beloved master, whom he loved and who loved him in return, to the gateway of freedom. The cause of Kantaka's sudden death may have been the strain from the long journey, carrying two riders without rest, had likely overworked his internal organs, perhaps leading to heart failure. Channa buried the loyal horse beneath a tree, overwhelmed with grief. No one mourned deeply as Channa that day. He had lost not just a compassionate master, but a true friend. Though their bond had been a form of master and servant, it was one of sincere affection and lifelong friendship. To make matters worse, he had also lost a faithful steed who had shared in their years of service, gone without warning. Channa slung the heavy bundle of royal ornaments across his shoulder through physical burdensome. Though physically burdensome, it felt lighter than the sorrow weighing on his heart. Tears streamed down his face. He steeled himself to fulfill the prince's final command, the last duty he could offer in return for a life of kindness from a noble friend. Chana journeyed back to
Kapilavatthu.
exhausted in body and spirit.
Exhort, right? This word I don't know how to pronounce.
Exhausted.
Exhort.
Exhausted.
That means we don't worry about H, right? And
Exhausted.
exhausted.
Exhausted
Okay.
in body and spirit. After resting, he had gathered his strength and delivered the garments and message to King Sototana and Princess Pimpa. They too were stricken with sorrow, no less than Chana. He reported faithfully, Prince Siddhartha, heir to the throne, has renounced royal rights and now lives the life of a wandering ascetic, seeking freedom from the cycle of rebirth.
Thank you for your strong reading. You are great scholar in America. The reading would be remaining for the next generation to study the Buddha's way of freedom. Thank you very much. Okay, Miss Tudy, Triple J, just sit down. And light up for you. Let be the light, like the Bible. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhaṃ Bhagavaṃ Abhivācchami Sawakkhāto Bhagavata Amo Dhammang Namasami Saupatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅgho Saṅghang Namami